Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com, joined by John Clark tonight to talk about WWE Monday Night Raw, just a stone's throw away from WrestleMania. John, how are you doing tonight on this fine Monday evening?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Doing pretty well. Raw tonight, the biggest story coming out of it, John, is the fact that Veer will finally come after WrestleMania. And that just
I'll
kind
get
of
to see it too.
there you go. It's gonna be a momentous occasion. We'll talk more about that a little
That will
later.
be the return of the night. I guarantee you that. Or I guess not the return, the debut of the night.
I mean, him and Cody, they're technically returned. So Veer was on the main roster very briefly at one point, and
All right,
obviously Cody
fair.
was as well. But it's easy to refer to it as a debut because it's Veer, so all his first. It's a whole thing. It's a weird time though, because like they were Fightful Select reported the outline for Raw before the show tonight, and I looked at the outline and I looked at it and I thought, wow, a lot of this just seems very skippable. Granted, some things happened that wound up being more noteworthy than expected. Like the Miz unmasking Rey Mysterio, that caught me by surprise. I was like, oh, that's a thing. There are a couple other things as well. Not a bad show. Not a bad show. Some things on it were not great, but not a bad show. Herman saying Raw was pretty good. Nestor after that as well, saying Veer will be on the Raw after WrestleMania, a very fitting occasion for that. For that wonderful day for Veer. Very, very happy for him that he's going to get to come to Raw. Finally, finally. Well, long overdue, but we'll talk about that as well. Raw is weird, John, because there was a main event, but there's no like real. I mean, there's not like there's no championship feud, right? Like Brock is over, technically over on SmackDown, so Raw is like doesn't really have like this real main feud. I guess
Yeah.
technically it's Edge and AJ Styles, and that's what we end up seeing play out in the main event. So in some ways, I might as well just start there because I don't know where else to kind of dive in otherwise. Because this did kind of play out throughout the show. We had Seth Rollins kind of yet again struggling to find his spot or find his way to get a spot on the WrestleMania card, which, as Nestor pointed out, 12 days away. WrestleMania is just 12 days away. Seems pretty crazy. John's pumping his fist, but we are on the very home stretch here. And that means that Seth Rollins is running out of time to get on this card, which is it's inherently silly. I think we've at least touched on this before. It's Seth Rollins, John. He's gonna be on the card, okay? They're trying to be like, oh, Seth Rollins, you're not gonna be on the card if you don't like either have a title was the first thing, or now the past 2 weeks he's tried to replace Kevin Owens and AJ Styles. Like, come on, WWE, like they would not intentionally leave him off the card. It's Seth Rollins, one of the bigger stars. Like they're inherently kind of telling a little bit of a silly story, but
Well, you heard what he said. He said you can't buy into rumors.
I
He did.
he said it. He said it. Um, we ain't gonna talk about this. They officially, well, not officially. Okay, so they Cody Rhodes officially, supposedly, reportedly signed with WWE. As per the latest report from PW Insider, that was Friday night. The Fightful Select provided more details that they couldn't quite 100% confirm it, but yet again, we are very clearly moving towards like, okay, this seems to be happening. Still not 100% confirmed, so you can't really like nobody can really
Well, I
100%.
don't know where you stand, but I am inclined to 100% believe that it is signed on the dotted line. It is official, I think. I know it's not like officially official, but to me, I think it's already been signed. I don't know what you
Reportedly, he has
think
signed
though.
his deal with this, haven't officially like the company has not officially announced it, but as far as we can tell, it has happened. And I think we as fans gonna have to assume we are proceeding that to the case. But in storyline, we are still pretending that Seth Rollins will not have a dance partner at WrestleMania, even though it's very clear that he'll be he'll have a friend to keep him busy at WrestleMania, or maybe not a friend, but an opponent. Given that's where we can assume we're
But
going.
but as we stand now, he's kind of at a crossroads.
Exactly. I worked that into my headline for the main event. Pat on the back. I was like, I got to get these puns in there. Seth's at the crossroads because he lost again tonight. He tried to take AJ Styles' spot in his own WrestleMania match against Edge. For some reason, Adam Pearce decided to humor a guy who is now basically hijacked the show twice and said, "Oh, I'm gonna, try and get on WrestleMania." And tonight he was literally threatening to like stop the show, and he interrupted AJ Styles, and then Adam Pearce was like, all right, we're gonna cooperate. We're gonna give you this one last chance to get this match. Wound up being the main event match: AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins. A very, very good match, as you would expect. Two of the very best on the roster at this point. Liked it a lot. Very good match. I thought, I felt pretty safe in thinking that AJ would just win. And then Edge comes out and attacks AJ with a chair to make sure that AJ won, but I guess to prevent Seth from taking a loss. So AJ wins, Seth loses. He ends the show by throwing a temper tantrum. And someone just said that they like yeah, Steven said Seth did a great temper tantrum. So no, they're definitely like telling the story of like he's very desperate. He even said during the match, like, I need this WrestleMania match. He wants this moment. Brian saying the outburst felt genuine, but the show ends. Seth is upset and yet again saying, "Oh, he's gonna hijack the show next week, and it's not going to go on until he gets what he wants." And so, John, I ask you, and someone just said a minute ago, Steven saying, "John, you're going to Raw next week. Do you think you're going to see Cody in person potentially?"
I don't. I think they're gonna wait till the actual pay-per-view or premium live event. Sorry. But I could see a world in which they, like further tease it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say like a video package or a vignette that straight says it's him, but maybe a mystery video package where it's somebody like saying, I'll be there, I accept or whatever. But I think the beginning of Raw next week will be comparable to that back when Daniel Bryan had overtaken Raw and had people in the ring and everything, Occupy Raw movement, something along the lines of that, where I think he'll come out, he'll demand something happen, and then he calls the buffoons, Adam Pearce and Sonya will come out and probably make some kind of an announcement where, you know, we found something for you or we have an idea or something like that, and it might go from there. But to summarize the main event, really, I thought the match itself was very good. Although I think fans will complain about the finish, but I think it benefits everybody because Rollins didn't lose clean. You further the Edge and Styles storyline there. I see this comment from Eric saying, Seth will buy a ticket and show up at Mania like John Cena did a few years ago. I don't think it's going to come down to that now because of what we saw at the end of the show about next week. Something is clearly going to happen next week to set this officially up because he said there will not be a show if I don't get what I want. So he's obviously going to start the show, you would imagine, and tear stuff apart or whatever. So we'll see what happens there. I think Rollins. He did the pedigree again tonight. One note I think is that they need to maybe I don't know. It's almost like he needs his own name for it or to do something else because like he's been doing it more than just the stomp and now he's doing this and it's so ironic, with the pedigree and the Cody Triple H thing,
Yeah,
putting the
yeah, yeah.
pieces together. So we'll see. It was a good main event, though. It was a good storytelling, another cliffhanger as usual. But it's not all good. There are some grapes I have here. Uh, and I mentioned this earlier, and I think you had saw that I had said this as well. The way that they're doing this is a little funky. Like basically Rollins throwing tantrums, and then suddenly, like, upper management is like, "Oh, we have an idea. You can fight to replace this guy." And it's like, well, what did he do to deserve the right to just randomly
Exactly, John.
replace
Yeah.
AJ Styles or randomly replace Kevin Owens? Not to mention, like, there wasn't a soul in the arena that probably thought that he was going to win tonight clean. So, it's a little weird the way they're doing it. And like I said, and I think you agreed, if they were going to do this, you might as well just like announce that Cody's coming back and one, at least build the story a little bit. Two, insanely help your ratings at least next week, and if not the week after. Because I think next week will probably be good, but the Raw after Mania's ratings, I think Raw will probably get back above 2 million for the first time in maybe a year, or if not longer. So that's a pretty big deal for them. But yeah, just the way that they're building up to it is a little weird.
Yeah, I almost thought like along that same vein, and they've done this before a little bit, but like, are they trying to kind of do an Adam Pearce as a heel thing? We already know that Sonya Deville is obviously heel on SmackDown, but like just the fact that Adam Pearce agreed to give Seth Rollins that match and put AJ Styles' WrestleMania match with Edge in jeopardy like that,
After being belittled backstage, like
right.
making fun of him, calling him names, and all of a sudden he's like, "Well, your idea is not so bad after all. Maybe we should do that." And then,
And
you
like
know,
to an extent, I get it. Like I, in a way, I could see him being like, "Oh, we want this great main event for tonight," but at the same time, you're kind of, if not jeopardizing, like you're messing with WrestleMania card then, and like it is a weird, logical kind of thing there. I don't know. I agree though. Like AJ, obviously he was upset, so at least they had that. Where he went backstage, he's like, "What the hell, guys? Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this to me?" And then AJ basically literally said, "You suck at your job." And then he turned to Sonya, he's like, "I haven't heard good things about you either." So at least they had the logical consequence of AJ's rightfully upset. I'm curious to see if that plays out. But we got a bunch more comments here about Seth. Some ideas about Seth maybe interrupting WrestleMania, going on strike, as John, you're mentioning, like kind of protesting or kind of taking over the show next week. Maybe that kind of plays at WrestleMania as well.
yeah,
Brian,
because if they wanted to, they could carry this into WrestleMania, where he just randomly comes out on night 2 or whatever into the ring and says, "I want now what I want," and then that's when he comes out. Because that, I mean, if it's going to be a mystery, at least it would make sense that way. But I mean, he could do something crazy next week, and now all of a sudden he's going to call out, because we know Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns are both going to be there. He already called out AJ Styles and Edge. He already called out Kevin Owens. What if he calls out either Roman or Brock and says, "If I win, I get added into the match or something," and
that'd
then
be
he
fun.
loses that too. I mean, I can
Yeah.
see something like that happening.
From a business perspective, I have to think if they don't officially announce Cody, they have to like really lean on next week to basically do what AEW did when CM Punk was arriving, be like making it 99.9%.
Blatantly obvious.
Yeah, like abundantly clear, like this is happening, but not actually saying it, so that they can kind of preserve the we want the WrestleMania moment, but then at the same time to supposedly
Money.
kind of drive any last minute sales of like, oh, well, I guess either way for live tickets or if they want to get any bump in Peacock subscriptions, if people want tuning in for that. But at this point, yeah, I probably agree. Again, even though I think I guess I'm in between. Either we'll see him next week, and then that will kind of be the last push for the WrestleMania match to kind of like officially people can know it's happening, or they'll make it abundantly clear, and then we can fully expect that'll be happening. It is a little weird in between here. The very least, the storyline has been silly. I told you about this early on. This was a very fun match for the main event, just like last week. And at the end of the day, when you give me a very good wrestling match in the main event, I can't be that upset. So I have to give them some props for that. And as you said, John, Edge causing the DQ, not like the best on paper, but it protects both guys. Everyone benefits in that way. So, I definitely see the kind of the benefit of that as well. But we can look forward to seeing Seth
Well, you
Rollins.
might as well say what I mean. What do you think then? If you had to guess, is he going to be there next week, or are they going to hold it off? I say they're going to hold it off,
Yeah,
but maybe tease it a little bit, like a little further, that it's actually him.
I don't agree with it because I just have this perspective of trying to think about like the business side of it, of like trying to like have that draw. It's Cody Rhodes, like they would want to do that. But then very much this WrestleMania especially, they've made, and Seth is literally saying it tonight. He was saying like, I want my WrestleMania moment, and they've pretty much every match, well, not every match, a lot of the big matches on this card are about the moment. Oh, the biggest WrestleMania moment of all time, or match of all time, with Brock and Roman. Oh, Steve Austin coming back. It's gonna be the biggest KO show. That's a moment. Whatever else it might be. Edge and AJ Styles in its own way is a moment. This cross generational clash.
I
So I
mean,
think they're gonna go for that.
it feels like you haven't really had a massive moment like that since the Hardys returned back in 17.
Yeah.
So it's almost been 5 years since you really had that WrestleMania magical return slash debut slash surprise that really came out of left field. Now, granted, this really isn't out of left field, but you could argue the Hardys' return really wasn't out of left field either. It was more of a thing where, okay, we think this is happening, but we really won't believe it until we see it. I think the CM Punk one is a little different story because I mean it was so blatantly obvious that it
Yeah,
was going to happen, like
yeah,
nowhere close to what they're doing like right now with Cody. Like it's been teased for what, like 2 months now, and you think, oh, he's coming at Raw in Jacksonville. Nope. Oh, he's coming in Cleveland. Nope. Oh, maybe he's coming in Chicago. Nope. So like
yeah.
basically at this point me and you had been discussing that if it doesn't happen by at the latest the Raw after Mania, it's not happening.
Right.
I
But
think
I feel like it's gonna happen.
at this point we know it is happening. It's
Yeah,
either there's three opportunities for it to happen. It's next Raw in Pittsburgh, WrestleMania in Dallas, or Raw in Dallas. It's one of those three. It has to be. And I think you can eliminate the Raw after Mania now. It has to be either Raw in Pittsburgh or WrestleMania in Dallas. It's the only two things it could be.
yeah. I would think so. So we could spend a whole bunch of other time on this, but we'll see what happens next week. John, you'll be there in person to see whether or not he'll arrive. But
I'll
John, I
be at the
imagine
I'm guaranteed to be there when he comes because I'll be there at
exactly.
the next two.
But I imagine you would have been a little upset tonight, John, because the start of the show, we got a big troll job from Kevin Owens because he came out with Steve Austin theme music, dressed as Steve Austin.
For him.
I'll set the scene. I was in the other room getting some coffee. I heard Steve Austin's music. I was like, "Holy crap, Steve Austin's here!" And I came in. I was like, "Oh, they got me!" Because I even looked. It's like I saw this bald guy. I was like, "Whoa, what?" And I was like, "Oh,
And then
that's
you
not
went
Steve
back out
Austin."
to get the coffee, and then his theme song came on again, and you're like,
Right.
"Oh, this is real this time."
Now they like it kind of got me the second time, but then there was like a third time, and the live crowd still fell for it. And I was like, "Oh, people are feeling a little gullible tonight." But I thought that was very, very fun. We got Steven Chambers saying he laughed his head off. Owens just like Stone Cold. His knee pads went on right. Um, yeah, this was great. Like Kevin Owens is really like making the most of this, doing the best he can with it. It's hard. It's always hard. I feel to kind of build any story when you're basically not doing it yourself. Steve Austin has owned kind of his online promo, but by and large, the storyline has definitely been um, Kevin Owens kind of cutting promos and like building it. Last week it was 316 day. They had like a digital exclusive Kevin Owens promo where he kind of spliced in Steve Austin's audio from his legendary promo back at King of the Ring in 1996, I believe. Kind of cool thing there. Outside of Raw, they're kind of leaning on the digital media side of things here to do that as well. Brian Singer's pure gold. So this definitely seemed like a universally liked thing. Everyone thought Kevin Owens did great here. He was doing all the typical like Steve Austin, like and the what's and like stomp a mud hole. He tried catching the beers, couldn't catch them. This was very, very fun. John, what do you think of this Owens' performance and the troll job, everything involved here?
So Owens is always entertaining when he gets a mic in his hand, but I think tonight was above and beyond. I think this was by far his most entertaining promo in years. I think that he is having a lot of fun with this angle. I really think everybody thought a couple months ago, oh, he's not happy. Oh, he was the one that's like, oh, he's gone. He's leaving. And then he resigns, he does interviews, he's like, no, genuinely, I'm really happy here. But everybody's like, oh, he's lying. Tonight, I think you could really see like he's happy doing what he's doing. I think he enjoys. He understands like really not necessarily what's at stake, but the what he's getting here. Like he's getting a program with somebody who hasn't done anything in almost 20 years. And you know, the chants for Austin were really loud. I thought that was good. I continue to agree with the general consensus that on WrestleMania weekend, Austin will get the biggest pop out of anybody, more than Cody, more than Roman, more than anybody. I think Stone Cold, is going to get the biggest pop, and we can argue later, discuss later about the potential or rumored lineup for night one about what will close the show, what won't close the show. That's whatever it's going to be, Austin is going to get the loudest pop. And then, of course, I think he missed the beers on purpose. At least I hope, because I think that was uh, it was either one of the best improvised moments ever, or it was like intentionally like supposed to be that way. So I think we're gonna try to find out like basically when you're looking at all of this stuff about is it going to be a match? Is it going to be just a KO show? I don't think it matters at this point. It's going to be a fight of some sort, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I mean, we got one question about at least this match specifically, whether it would close the show, and there was a report about that, and that seems weird to me on the surface, not because they're advertising as the KO show, because it feels pretty clear this will be something beyond just talk show. That feels pretty safe to say. I don't think it's gonna be like a match, and regardless, it'll be probably like a brawl kind of thing. Like I'm not expecting anything too crazy. Supposedly, reports have said that Austin is training hard for this, but the bar is low for me. Like if he does a stunner and like kind of just if it's like a brawl kind of thing, I think most people would be pretty happy with it. I still kind of push against the way they're billing this in terms of like, oh, it's the first time in 19 years. If they're gonna do that, just make the match. Sorry, like advertise the match, make that abundantly clear rather than kind of just walking this fine line between the two. So that's really my kind of only bone to pick with it. It is Steve Austin. It's a big deal. You said, John, this is Texas. Is he going to get a big pop? So that's good as well. And that's a WrestleMania moment. So there you go. So yeah, I mean, I should say, I think Sami Zayn did an interview last week where he was talking about like as Kevin Owens' best friend, like he knows how much this means to Owens, and like that's something that I admittedly was kind of sleeping on. Like I didn't realize. It sounds silly to say, but like I didn't know Kevin Owens was like a big fan of Steve Austin, because like most people are, but I guess maybe he took a particular inspiration or interest in him as a aspiring wrestler. So no, like that's great for him, as you just said, for a guy that a while ago we thought was pretty much a lock to leave. Now supposedly, if not actually closing the show, at least doing this high profile thing with Steve Austin of all people, WrestleMania. That's huge. So. I'm coming around on this a little bit. I thought the segment was very fun, and that helped me kind of overlook some of these things of like maybe some of the logistical things or not loving the way they're building it and all that kind of stuff. Because like they literally they're call, as I said a minute ago, they're calling the Brock Roma thing the biggest WrestleMania match. They're calling this KO show the biggest KO segment. It's like it's a little silly, but it'll be a WrestleMania moment, and again, that's what they're going for, and this will be special. So Brian's saying he personally wants to see Austin wrestle, but he's fine with the segment either way. He'll bring the house down, and again, that's something that counts. It's going to be a really cool pop. It's Steve Austin. In some way, I guess the only thing I would say is that, like, ironically, can't change the past, but like because he has come back so many times in so many different ways that there is like some sense of like a diminished return in that sense, but there's nothing you can really do about that. They are going to try and kind of make this special. I think that's fine. So Owens is doing great with this. Kind of like the Cody thing. Do you think we're going to see Steve Austin for WrestleMania, or are they going to hold off on that, for the special moment?
Well, okay. Here is where I think it gets questionable because we've talked about this before, and it was 2 years ago where they were going to do Austin 316 Day, and Austin was going to return to Raw and put on a show. And this show was in Pittsburgh. It was supposed to be in Pittsburgh. Stone Cold returns, and the morning or the day before the morning of, they say, "Oh, we're canceling Raw, no Raw because COVID or whatever." So basically, what I'm getting at is Pittsburgh is owed Stone Cold, and
Right.
it is like the perfect opportunity to do it, but they're not doing it. That's my answer. Basically, he's not coming until WrestleMania. It's just not going to happen. They're building this up to be a big return at WrestleMania as well. But I'm basically explaining all this because there is a world that I could see it happening. I think that it would be possible that they could work this into a story where he shows up. But I could see Kevin Owens doing the same thing he did this week again next week. But maybe they won't do the same thing 2 times in a row. So my final vote is he's not coming. What about you?
I mean, like that would make more sense. Really, it's like in a way more than Cody. I guess it's like I wouldn't. They teased it tonight, and I did kind of think that they would do the same thing next week to some degree. That would be not the best because, like, I don't know. I wouldn't think they would do the exact same thing, but like, hopefully by next week people will like kind of see through it. But if they don't, people are going to be really mad next week if Owens does it again, and then there's still no Austin. But I should point out the crowd was really mad tonight. They were really booing Owens, and he's usually a guy that he at least in recent weeks he was getting some cheers. So it's working, and so people definitely want to see him kind of get his ass kicked at WrestleMania because of the way he's kind of doing the story and being like a troll with Austin stuff and everything. So. But no, I would say other than this like troll thing of like the fake out, I wouldn't think they would really kind of waste actually having Steve Austin show up before WrestleMania. Whereas like Cody, I could see it. They've already announced Steve Austin. Like that's they're good. They like that's done. That's already the draw. With this, like Cody Rhodes, it's like okay, well we don't really know yet, and there's still some uncertainty there. DJ saying that it was the rowdy Chicago crowd tonight. Yes, definitely worth pointing out. In some ways, that's why I kind of thought tonight would have been, I guess, the last best chance to have Cody show up before WrestleMania. Not to knock Pittsburgh, but like Pittsburgh's not this notorious wrestling. I mean, it's a wrestling city.
It's a top 5
market, but crowd, right? I think there's a little distinction there. It's like Chicago is this like crazy hot crowd.
Chicago and Philly are the top 2 crowds. Yeah.
Yeah. Pittsburgh's great. It's a great wrestling market, but I think if you really wanted this like really hot, great crowd, maybe tonight would have been like kind of the last best chance to do it. Not to say they can't do it, just for that real kind of that reaction, that moment. Again, the theme of the night, that moment they're going for, feels like tonight would have been kind of fitting for it. But indeed, Steven, WrestleMania will be stupendous. My new least favorite word, a word I hopefully will never have to again hear, let alone say. After WrestleMania 38 here, DJ says he's sending a report. There we go. About something about Cody Rhodes was trying to see. Now, we might as well just kind of touch on some other stuff here. We had a match between RK Bro and Alpha Academy, obviously, a rematch of the tag title match from, I think that was January at this point. Obviously, they confirmed today that will be a triple threat match. That was what we pretty much assumed last week. Now it's official. RK Bro got the win pretty cleanly. The Alpha Academy attacked, and then the Street Profits showed up and laid both teams out. Street Profits again showing a little attitude, showing a little more of an edge. They stood tall. They'll be facing Alpha Academy next week, and I was left wondering, who's kind of the favorite in this tag team match, John? Because I think all three teams have a relative chance of winning here, at least to some degree.
Yeah, I suppose so. I think it's what direction they want to go. Do they want to finally pull the trigger on this stable turn, which I don't think they will? This is Orton and Riddle, that is. I don't know. I think it could theoretically be a coin toss, but there's 3 teams, so you can't toss a coin for 3 teams. Gable always yelling, "Look at that face," and kissing Otis on the cheek, doing the shoosh thing. That's all very entertaining. You got the Street Profits doing their little spiel, which it was weird last week. It was almost like they were a hybrid between heels and faces for a second, which got me thinking that a heel run between those guys would be pretty entertaining. But I don't think that's in the cards. Now, as far as like the rest of like the match itself, I think it's going to be a good match, but it's not going to be, something that basically it's going to be predictable. I don't think you're going to see anything crazy here, aka Orton turning on Riddle or anything else like that. It's just going to be a typical match. Somebody's going to win, and then that'll be it. I think they'll hopefully start fresh the night after, but there's not a lot of teams, so.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We've seen RK Bro Alpha Academy a couple of times. We've seen Alpha Academy Street Profits several times, dating back to SmackDown. They were feuding for months at one point on SmackDown, right when Alpha Academy was first kind of in their formative stages there. So this definitely, like, it's been a fun feud. The matches have been good, but like this is kind of illustrating a pretty clear lack of depth in the tag team division. So hopefully after WrestleMania, again, we've talked about it before, maybe some call-ups of some kind, maybe some kind of shakeup of some sort. I think that'll definitely be helpful here. Steven predicting the Street Profits will win. I mean, I hope so in some ways. I know RK Bro just won them back, but I mean, the Street Profits, it's been quite a while since they've had the title, so I've been hoping to see them get another reign for quite some time now, and especially with this kind of newfound edge and again, kind of an attitude, I think that could kind of help make this reign a little different rather than kind of the bubbly babyface thing they're doing last time. But if not bubbly, like cool, happy-go-lucky baby faces. But I do want to reference this report from DJ. DJ, you threw me off because you said Cody wouldn't appear on Raw until next month, and my fried brain, I was like, next month, and I thought that would mean like after WrestleMania. I confused myself there, so that would mean that he would not be on Raw until after WrestleMania. So that would mean, yeah, he could show up at WrestleMania and then be on Raw after that. That was a report going around that was Dave Meltzer predicting, we were talking about earlier, that they would probably recreate the Hardys thing from 2017 when the Hardys showed up the day of the event for that big moment. So yeah, that does seem to be a pretty fair prediction at this point. Again, nothing confirmed yet, but it does seem to be pretty realistic here. Talking a lot about crowds and DJ as well, pointing out with the Chicago crowd is renowned, or at least infamous for some loud CM Punk chants. Now tonight, Cody chants ruled the night, but Worf pointed out for DJ saying that there were no CM Punk chants tonight, and to that I say, it's not all that surprising because the Chicago crowds, they've had several chances to literally cheer CM Punk in person, and if they want to do that, again, buy a ticket to an AEW show. AEW's gone there several times in the last couple of months. They've gotten to see CM Punk. That's where he first returned. I'm going to leave it at that. But I think that's probably a factor. That's probably why there wasn't as much trolling tonight. Because they've gotten their fill, if you will. Like it's kind of like, I don't know. The ship has sailed. The ship has sailed on.
Yeah, like nope. I don't know. Nobody should be surprised about this. I mean, the last time they were in Chicago, there was no chance either. Like that ship has sailed. We're past that. It's not going to happen. It was not surprising to me at all.
Yeah.
But one thing that I thought was a little bit surprising tonight was Pat McAfee showing up on the show. Because look, I know he's from Indy. Chicago isn't that far away, but he grew up in Pittsburgh, and they're going to be in Pittsburgh next week. So, and he still might be there next week, but I thought he's definitely going to be there next week. But so he's there tonight because Theory and Balor had a match, and of course he's feuding with Austin Theory. Man, McAfee, like he just has a factor, and I know he always has, but it continues to show week in and week out. Like just the way that he calls Austin Theory a punk bitch, like the stuff that he does like that. And then you got the taunts, like the crotch chops and the words he uses, the energy he brings. This was good. I don't know how good their match is going to be at Mania, and honestly, I don't know who's going to win because I could see either winning. So, I mean, what did you think about first of all the match between Balor and Theory, in which I say Balor did win because of course McAfee was there, and what do you think about the way that this feud has been evolving?
We got Steven saying McAfee is awesome, and he predicts that McAfee will beat Theory. Robert, our SmackDown co-host here on the wrestling side of things, he always jokes to me because whenever we see like some SmackDown superstars coming to Raw or vice versa, I always tweet the brand split is dead, X is on Raw or something like that. I did not do that tonight. I think I avoided it when we saw Natalya and Shayna Baszler because I was like, all right, whatever. They're doing that for the women's tag title scene. But then Pat McAfee came out later in the show and I was like, oh, the brand split's dead as a joke because that's I was just kind of having a little fun there. It's worth noting that we have seen some kind of like at least some more overlap, and it's WrestleMania season, so that makes sense. But just an interesting observation. I agree. Pat McAfee is great. I think he's really doing well with this role. I haven't always loved his thing with like Shinsuke Nakamura, and like he freaks out with the guitar and stuff. Like can be like a little over the top sometimes, but like this has been fun, as you said. He has a presence, and he's like calling Austin Theory like a punk bitch, and like he's like a lot cooler than Austin Theory. So like he's a lot easier to like, and he's pretty easy to root for in that sense. I remember I was pretty darn impressed with his NXT matches, both the Adam Cole match and the War Games match. So, and Theory is good in the ring. We have seen Theory have several good matches here during his time on Raw. So, am I expecting like a 5-star masterpiece? No. Am I expecting like a awful match? No. I think it's going to be decent to good. I think that's fair. Brian's saying he thinks the match will be good. And he's saying the match with Cole was very good. And Steven's saying, we could see Vince McMahon get involved. He's starting Vince to be the referee. I don't know about that. I've seen some sports that Vince will still get involved. Of course, if you remember, Vince was initially supposed to reportedly face Theory, but no, some reports have been going around that McMahon will be involved somehow. Whether that's like a handicap match kind of thing, I don't know. It was interesting. I think it was Friday night on SmackDown. We had McAfee had to apologize. He was ordered to McMahon's office, and we didn't see him. It was kind of just like he got sent to the office, and then we saw him after the meeting. So, kind of again, we're kind of running out of time. So, if they want to have any kind of build to something, whether it's again we're talking about Cody Rhodes, we're talking about other stuff over this side of things, like if they want to have the story be that Vince is going to get involved, I would want to see a little more clear setup for that. It's like whether that's I don't know McAfee confronting or McMahon confronting McAfee, being
You're
upset.
grasping at straws now.
I don't know, something. Just do something. So, like, at least it doesn't make sense. Because, like, otherwise, on paper, this has been uh, McAfee goes and hosts McMahon on the Pat McAfee show, gets the match. Theory says he's facing McAfee. They have a couple back and forths. They brawl, and then McAfee is ordered to apologize off screen of McMahon, and to not see McMahon until that point to WrestleMania, it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
If
So I'm saying, like,
McAfee loses, he must leave commentary.
Theory at least kind of like planted that seed tonight. He had a promo for his match, and he said, like, I'm going to beat McAfee, and then he basically implied that, like, he would make sure they didn't have a job anymore on commentary. So I could see that, at least being kind of like this implied stipulation, even if not officially. And in that case, I would definitely assume McAfee would win. So maybe in that case, they'd be better off leaving it at that. Again, we talked about it last week. I think there are some matches where the heels have to win. In theory, this could be one of them. Because I don't think you necessarily need to give Pat McAfee a WrestleMania win for his own moment. It's still a moment to go out there and have a match. But at the same time, give him a win. And I don't know. It's kind of a toss up. I would agree that it's kind of hard to call.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be one of the most unpredictable matches.
Yeah, and again, at the end of the day, that's all I ask. Just give me a little intrigue, give me a little unpredictability, because then I'm watching, and we never know how it's going to go. But usually, a lot of time, there's a pretty clear like feeling. Like, we'll talk about it later. I feel like it's a pretty darn good lock, even after tonight, that Carmella and Zelina Vega are going to lose the women's tag titles. But speaking of which, we got a report before the show tonight. And Steve bring up the subject of said report. Report tonight said that this was from Fightful Select. Almost, at first it was just about saying Almost would be having a singles match against a name that would, quote unquote, surprise people. It would not be Veer, it would not be Cody Rhodes, and then Fightful Select followed up on that by saying, as of this weekend, the plan would call for Almost to face Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. Obviously, Bobby Lashley has been sidelined with in storyline a concussion, in real life a reported shoulder surgery since WrestleMania. That would initially the estimates were that he would be out for 4 months. If he is able to come back for WrestleMania, that would be obviously well in advance. And I saw that report, and I'm like, if that's true, they're not gonna have Lashley lose to Omos. But then I say, why would they work so hard to build Omos up and then like have him lose like that, presumably in his first match on this kind of stage like that in a singles match? So that doesn't seem quite right to me. But at least tonight he did pick up a win. He defeated Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz. He squashed them both, just like Roman Reigns. He smashed him and he stacked him and he pinned them both.
Botch Mania, though.
Wasn't great. But he's winning matches, and whether or not that report is true, they're clearly building up for something. So I think it's pretty clear to say he will be on the WrestleMania card for something. But supposedly it will be for a singles match. If it's not Bobby Lashley, I don't really know. I think DJ a couple weeks ago you had said that he wondered if it could be Aziz after tonight. No, it's not going to be Commander Aziz. But if it's not someone like Bobby Lashley, I don't know who else it would be. But John,
Gable Steveson.
You predicted that. I saw you tweet that right when that WrestleMania report went out. And good segue. So, John, you were watching it live on Saturday. Gable Steveson won the second his second consecutive NCAA heavyweight championship for the University of Minnesota. That was on Saturday. He left his boots on the mat and then confirmed after the match. John Columbus, Penn State. Is that a rock?
National champions, baby.
There you go. Penn State had a very good weekend as well. So. But for Minnesota, Gable Steveson got the win there. Left his boots on the mat and confirmed that he would be retiring from amateur wrestling to move on to his next chapter as a WWE superstar. He is a member of the RAW roster, got drafted there. And then he also said he plans on going to WrestleMania. And John, you and I were talking before we went on the air. Got to feel like he's going to do something WrestleMania. And yeah, I could see it being almost. In a way.
I think he's going to win the Battle Royal, though, if I had to guess. I would assume that it would make the most sense to do it that way if he's not going to have an actual match. Plus, being in a Battle Royal like that allows you to kind of remain green and fresh without it being blatantly obvious, because the attention is not going to be all on you, even though it probably would be all on him. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, again, theme of the night, we're talking about all these WrestleMania moments, whether it's the Battle Royale and winning that, or facing somebody else. Again, I don't know who that would be, but I feel like Gable Stevenson is going to be there. John, you and I have pretty much are both in agreement. It's not going to be. He's going to be just in
I
the
said
crowd.
he needs to make a faction with Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. All of the college wrestlers are going to have a team, and they're just
What
going to be like
what about
dominant.
Otis, John? What about Otis, the new face of vengeance? In the words of Chad Gable, best line of the night right there.
Yeah, I mean, whatever they do, it's going to be interesting to see how they book him right off the bat. I mean, I think at the latest he'll be at the Raw for Mania. I think they won. I think he's been drafted to Raw, so he's
Yeah,
on Raw. We know that.
yeah. So um, I would probably expect we are gonna, at the very least, it feels safe to say we are going to see some new faces here over the next couple weeks, which is good, which is very good. Whether that's Stevenson, whether that's in theory Cody Rhodes, that we don't know yet, but that does seem to be something that will happen. Um, Raw seems to be getting some kind of injection of fresh blood, and that's a good thing. So we got
You know,
a
they're gonna. Oh, I know one thing we have to talk about that could be a possibility. They could do Gable Stevenson versus Veer.
see okay.
Veer's
So
coming.
admittedly, I was out of the room getting more coffee tonight when I heard the Veer music, and I just heard the music. I was like, oh, good, Veer's still coming. And I came to my computer and saw the tweet. He's not just coming. Now we have a date. Now we have a date to look forward to. So to that, I said, oh man, I kind of want that to get drawn out a little longer. Like I Michael saying Veer's finally leaving IKEA. The funniest part of the story was the Veer posted that he's been at IKEA apparently all this time. But like if they're gonna actually do something with him, do something with him. Like if you're gonna have him debut, as Brian's saying, on April 4th, the day after WrestleMania night 2, don't just like have him lose to Stevenson in his first match, or
Gable Stevenson versus Veer. Loser leaves WWE April 4th.
hope not. But I don't know. Maybe at the very least, build them both up, or do something a little more fun. But overall, Nando from the show chipping in saying that Gable has all the tools one needs to be a great professional wrestler. He's been already compared many times to Kurt Angle, so
Brock Lesnar.
and Brock Lesnar as well. So a lofty standard we're setting there. At the very least, he definitely does have a great set of natural talent there. Nando's saying, what was Veer doing at IKEA? He just tweeted. He was at IKEA. He was lounging around and admiring the furniture. I was gonna, I'm not gonna make a joke about potentially coming in furniture, but anyway, Adam Pearce told him he has to leave IKEA to come to Raw. So apparently he has, or at least he's in the process of doing so, because he will be finally coming to Raw on April 4th. Well, again, I'm looking forward to it. It will be National Veer Day because we've been waiting for very long now. These vignettes have been airing since November, John. It is now pretty much the end of March. It's pretty darn crazy. So looking forward to that as well. Again, but talking about new faces, Steven says maybe Elias. Maybe Elias will come back to life, and whatever that winds up being.
Maybe
Speaking
he's
of,
just been helping with the ring crew this whole time. Since he's been wrestling on main event, maybe he's just part of the ring crew after the show.
maybe, but we got another suggestion from Rowdy Warrior here, saying maybe we'll get Veer versus almost the pre-show. Nah, he's got to build up that endurance a little more, and then just last to Monday night for WrestleMania there. So hopefully, I mean, again, the Raw Mania is the night for big like debuts and pops and stuff. So in a way, the way that they built it up so far, Veer should very well get a great pop night after WrestleMania because he deserves it, man. He's been waiting for so long, and he'll finally get to come. It'll be a very special moment there. So now we got a comment about the women's tag team match. So we got a bit of a tale of two tag matches, John. We had one that was pretty good and one that was not good. Let's start with the good. So we got Steven saying, think of the women's tag match. We got Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley versus the SmackDown team of Natalya and Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler. And again, some more kind of brand crossover here. Now we do know officially 4 teams will fight for the women's tag team titles. It will be the champions. Carmella and Zelina Vega versus Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley versus Natalya and Shayna Baszler versus Sasha Banks and Naomi. So A lot of talent in that match. And again, I feel like it's very, very clear that Carmella and Zelina Vega will lose that match. We've had some dissension recent weeks. That escalated this week. We had a very heated backstage segment where Zelina Vega was very upset. She said, Carmella, you've been so worried about your stupid reality show. No arguments here with that one. That you've been like distracted. You've been talking to Corey at ringside. You got to focus on these titles. And Carmella was like, whatever. Like, yeah.
Zelina's a hobbit.
Well, actually, she's the queen, John. We got another Hobbit reference later. Another point is we'll talk about that in a minute. But then they start fighting. Zelina like takes Carmella's phone and throws it across the hall, and then Carmella slaps her. They start fighting, and to that I say, I'm like, if they're gonna do this like can they coexist thing, at the very least, don't book them like they are 100% gonna lose. They've lost pretty much every single match they've been in, and so to kind of try to go for any intrigue in terms of like they're the champions, but now they can't coexist. What's going to happen? Can they possibly win? Like, no, we know they're going to lose. So like, just don't do that. Like, there's no need to try and like spice it up by doing that because like, again, if you're going to do it, at least like make them a stronger team. But at the very least, they stood tall tonight. Actually, yeah, we had this match, and I thought, okay, if you're going to do this match, Shayna Baszler and Natalya need to win because right now. Before this match, there was 0% in my mind that thought, okay, there's any chance they're going to win. And then we had this match tonight, and I was like, win this match, and I'll think there's like a 1% chance. Because, like, at least then, like, they've got this match in some momentum. So thankfully, they won. Baszler pinned Liv Morgan. I was like, cool, that's good.
You were happy.
At least a little bit. I was like, give me a little.
But it was uneventful. It was just uneventful.
Until the post match, because then all teams started brawling, and Carmella and Zelina Vega stood tall, they hugged, and suddenly they're on the same page again. So they're coexisting once more, and now they're riding WrestleMania. They got 1 week to go. If they can just keep together, maybe they'll be able to pull out a win. I don't think they will, but I can at least respect that they kind of like. I don't know. They're going for something. They tried to tell a little story about the. I don't know, John. I don't know. It was fine. It was fine. But Michael's saying there might be a fifth team included here. We got maybe Asuka and Bayley. Maybe we got some social. No. Oh,
no more teams. Cool. No more teams.
I know Robert wants to see the Bella Twins get added here.
No more teams.
Why not? Throw them all in.
And then just no more teams. Who's going to be in the women's battle royal? Is there even going to be a women's battle royal at this point? There's nobody left. It's going to be just Tamina and Dana Brooke. They might as well make it a 24/7 championship match. Throw Aaliyah in there too.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. But no, come on, man. The more the merrier. Like maybe I don't know about the Bellas, but like why not? Just like again, Asuka and Bayley. I saw someone tweet tonight. I 100% think this match should have had Alexa Bliss and Nikki ASH. The story is right there, John. The superhero has become a villain. Alexa Bliss is trying to like.
They're gonna have. I'll tell you what they're gonna have. So they have this fatal 4-way. There's gonna be another fatal 4-way, and it's gonna be Reggie and Dana Brooke, Tamina and Akira Tozawa. Persia and Duke Hudson and Indy Hartwell and Dexter in a makeout contest with all 4 teams.
John, I saw a tweet today that it was like a side-by-side of Persia and Indy and wait, I got that wrong. Persia and Duke and Indy and Dexter when the kissing was like, who did better? I'm like, are you kidding me? Is this a real question? This is not for debate. It wasn't their makeout session. It was like 2 of their various like backstage kissing. I was like, this is not a debate. Are you kidding? That's the NXT side of things. But Raw is horny too. Raw has become a very horny show, at least in the 24/7 title division, because once again, the 24/7 title, we got Dana Brooke and Reggie versus Tamina and Akira Tozawa. This was preceded by apparently last week there was a digital exclusive of some skirmish back. Tamina wound up on top of Akira, and it was a thing, and they had a moment. And then tonight they had an interview, and then Akira was like, "Did you feel what I feel?" And Tamina said, "Oh, I did, and I want what you want." Dramatic pause. I want the 24/7 title, and she got in his face, and there was a lot of romantic tension. And they had a match, and then the whole point of the match was that Akira got hit in the nuts, and they got pinned. It was probably less than 2 minutes. It takes a lot for me to say something is bad. John, this is not good. This is not good. And like I tweeted about that, and I got comments. Are you expecting it to be good? I'm like, no, but better than this. Like this isn't good, John. This is not. I don't blame the talent. It's just it's not a good story. The talent here. It's like it's not great.
Can't argue with that.
There was a point in the show tonight where I like totally forgot about it, and I was just like, oh, I wonder if they're just gonna like drop it entirely and we'll never see it to the title again. Nope. It was right there, front and center, yet again, and probably will continue to be. Could very well have, if not a match, at least a segment on the WrestleMania card. Good for the talent. Good that they're still on TV. All the talent, they're trying. They're doing the best they can. But again, the material's not very good. So speaking of which, last thing I think we haven't really talked about yet. Got a promo from Becky Lynch, and she kind of turned into omnipotent heel Edge, where she was saying that she would sell her soul to keep the title, and she called the title her precious, just like Lord of the Rings. And she had said something about like being on the top of the mountain, and a bunch of other stuff as well. This, at the very least, my big takeaway here was that this was the most heel she's been in terms of like little heel. Because usually she's like a cool heel. This is like pure heel of like, oh, she literally was saying she would sell her soul, and she would like show Bianca that, and she hurt Bianca on purpose. Speaking of which, Bianca Belair storyline injury is off TV right now, so she missed with a throat injury. Obviously, the connection being that she accidentally hurt Becky's throat as well. Becky's good to go. Again, presuming this is a storyline injury. Bianca's in theory fine, but keeping her off TV, when this is the second to last show before WrestleMania, is a bit of a choice. Because again, Becky had a good promo. She had a promo to tell the story, but like not having both people on the show, well, I feel that's a little risky. I used to do an injury like that.
Yeah, it is. Especially like this close to the WrestleMania, if something were to happen where, God forbid they have to change plans. I mean, they already did this before SummerSlam. I mean, when Becky came out, I mean, this is where this all started with that. An unexpected turn of events. I don't even remember who was Bianca supposed to even wrestle in. I don't even remember.
I don't know.
But it was so long ago that like they ended up having Carmella. Oh, it was Sasha Banks. She couldn't be there,
Right.
so they had Carmella come out, and then Becky comes out. But yeah, so they do all that, and then they build up to this. I think it's gonna be a great match. I think it's the perfect match to open the entire. I think this is gonna open the entire WrestleMania. Like night one, Saturday. This is the first match. Becky comes out to start the show. I think that's what they do. I think it makes sense. But who wins is the question. Who should win?
We got DJ saying they could flip the script and have Bianca basically pull a Becky.
No.
I could see the irony there, but like it's WrestleMania, okay? They're like this has been months and months and months in the waiting. They're not going to just do like a 20-second squash. Like again, I've said it before. I really think Bianca needs to win here because like that's the story they've been telling, and she doesn't win. Like I know she got her moment last year, but like yet again, theme of the night, moments. Becky winning isn't really a moment. Like she's been the champion for so long now. I think it's probably if not well past time. It's probably time to have her be the challenger again. Like she came first night, that was SummerSlam. I see no problem with having her lose and then become again go back to the chase. That's what made it so popular really in the first place. So I'm on board for that. Have Bianca win, get her second big WrestleMania moment in a row. I know some people feel differently, but that's really where my head's at with it at this point. Would you agree, or do you think Becky should win here?
No, I think Bianca needs to win, and I think she will.
Yeah, I just think like that's just complete the story, and then you shake it up, and then you have new matches available. Bianca and Rhea Ripley being one. Like there's a lot of cool stuff they can do. Was Becky like not there? There's still some matches again. Becky hasn't really faced Rhea, at least in the singles match so far. So like, not to say that that's not true of her, but like, I think it's time for Bianca. I hope that happens. But again, all this uncertainty of when people will or not be on TV, I have to think Bianca's gonna be on Raw next week. Like, there's no need to hold her off to WrestleMania. It's like that's not. Again, Cody Rhodes, you get the intrigue. Steve Austin, you're gonna hold off at Steve Austin. Bianca Belair, like, there's really no reason to hold her off till like,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I would be a little. little befuddled if they kept her off TV next week, because this wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. I misinterpreted DJ spot here, comment here, saying they could have say Bianca can't go, and then have someone like Nikki Cross or Nikki SH get the shot, and then he says the place will go nuts. Will the place go nuts for Nikki ASH? As much as she's like, I think she's great, but like, is that? I don't think that's the same as like at WrestleMania. It was Becky Lynch. The place went crazy because it was Becky Lynch. Not knocking Nikki ASH. I think she's great. I think that's a definite, pretty big difference between the two. So I think as much as I knocked WWE sometimes, they're just gonna go from point A to point B. It's gonna have the match. Whoever wins, remains to be seen. But like, I don't think they're gonna try to go too complicated with it. But one more thing I briefly mentioned earlier, but worth pointing out as well. I'm sorry, DJ. I misinterpreted again. He said the place is going to when Bianca hits, so maybe they'll kind of swerve and have Bianca can't go, and then they'll bring her out anyway. All right, maybe. But again, don't overcomplicate it. Just proceed with the match. I think that'll be fine. One more thing to talk about here: the Miz unmasked Rey Mysterio, and I was like, I didn't see that coming. I was like, oh damn! Like he unmasked him, and they didn't like show his face. He quickly covered it. I was like, oh damn! Like Rey Mysterio got unmasked, and like even though he was unmasked in WCW, like he's been masked for years now. So like that still was a pretty big deal. And not only that, the Miz said that he took the mask. He said, I'm gonna go dry clean this. I'm gonna dare Logan Paul to wear this next week. So to that I say, John, are we gonna see Logan Paul in the iconic Rey Mysterio mask next week?
Absolutely.
What a disrespectful thing that would be.
I think we will, yes.
It's interesting because Logan Paul did an interview, I think it was last week, where he said if his WrestleMania match goes well, he would be interested in doing some more work with WWE going forward. So,
well, that would make all the marks real mad. I want to see this happen because I think it would be great.
Some men just like to watch the world burn, John. Some men just like to watch the world burn. But I'm curious. He gets heat. I can't deny that. We haven't seen him in the ring yet, so I can't comment on that.
He's good. He's going to be good. He's going to be better than Bad Bunny.
Really?
Have you watched him? Have you watched him box before?
I can't say I have.
Well,
there's a difference there, John. He can be good at boxing, but like
he is good. Trust me, he's good.
All right, take your word for it. We'll wait and see. But supposedly he will be on Raw next week. We also know that Johnny mentioned earlier we do have a pretty good card for next week. And the Miz will face Rey Mysterio in a rematch from their Elimination Chamber match. We'll see the 4 teams in the women's tag title match be women tag team match. Kind of preview that. We'll see the Street Profits face Alpha Academy, and we will also see Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar on the same show on the Raw side of things for the last time until WrestleMania. So not a bad card. And John, you're going to see it in person. So there you go.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be exciting. So
with all that said, not a bad show tonight. But John, what would you say on a scale of 1 to 10 here overall as we rapidly approach WrestleMania?
7.25. A little above average, pretty entertaining, continuing with a solid build.
Especially on the Raw curve, I would probably go for like a 7.1. I wasn't like, other than the 24/7 title stuff, I wasn't sitting here like, oh, this is really bad. It's fine. Very good main event. I liked some of the promos we got. I liked about Alpha Academy Arcade was good. But yeah, a bunch of you guys seem to agree as well. We got Steven Chambers with 7, Michael with 7.5. Worth pointing out, Finn Balor, U.S. champion, still does not have a WrestleMania match. I thought we'd get something with Damian Priest tonight. We did not, and that's why Michael's saying we might get some pre-show kind of thing for the mid-card champion at this point. It's a shame, but I can see it. We got one more week, SmackDown this week, and then one more week entirely to see what could kind of get added to the card last minute here. But I could see that. Not about DJ saying all Chicago events are good until tonight. 0.01. DJ, you're knocking the show like that's a. You're usually giving us high. You're usually giving the shows high scores. I thought it was a good show, especially for Raw. Oh, well, I mean, again, you're more than entitled to disagree. I thought the crowd was pretty good. The crowd, they were hot for that Kevin Owens segment as well. We got an 8.10 from Laura Rock, so pretty good show. But otherwise, here onward as always, onward and upward we go. We got NXT on Tuesday night. John, you and I be here on Tuesday to talk about that. I think we should be good to go for Friday for SmackDown with Robert D. Felice and myself. We got for Raw 6.9 Ducks as always from Nando, and a 7.3 from Taylor. Not a bad show. So good way to wrap up here on Raw. Onward to the NXT. As always, Dolph Ziggler, the NXT champion, was on Raw tonight, so that remains a very weird thing to say. I'm sure we'll see him tomorrow night as well, as we are on the road to Stand and Deliver. Otherwise, for all things AEW, check out 2 Dynamite Dudes on the Rampage from Marcus and Dominic. And beyond that, we got a great stream of interviews constantly coming at you guys. My interview with Big Damo went up today. My interview with Maradona is in the archives as well. The NWA champion retained his title yesterday at Crockett Cup. Make sure to check that out. All that good stuff and more. SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, any platform you can think of, chances are we're there at WrestleZone, so make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We appreciate you. Now, John, you're going to be at Raw next week, but we're going to see you for the NXT show this week before that. But otherwise, here, we come together to do one thing above all others, John. Can you tell me what that is?
Enjoy wrestling.
Indeed.